In a recent interview, IBF World Heavyweight Champion Anthony Joshua spoke about what it would take for him to be considered the best heavyweight in the world in his own mind as well as in the minds of the general public. And he believes that he would need to unify the division before he can really call himself the best out there, which is reasonable. And I guess it's what many, I won't say most, but many people believe, because Tyson Fury, by a lot of people, is considered the best out there. He didn't unify the division, though. So sometimes people will consider somebody the best even when they haven't fought all the best. Just off one high level victory, they'll start touting the person as the best. But Joshua believes he needs to unify the division before he can consider himself the best. So I'm going to quote Anthony Joshua directly here. He also talks about some of the tactics that he may employ against his next opponent, Vladimir Klitschko. So yeah, let me quote Anthony Joshua. He says, "You have to unify the division to gain that respect. But I do think you gain a level of respect that can't be denied. That's a status in itself. So in my opinion, I need to do a bit more work before I can claim that. There's no doubt about it. If I fight as long as Vladimir, I'd have another 14 years left. And that can't possibly, and he can't possibly have another 14 years left. I can definitely push him aside and create a pathway for me to reign for a long time. Look at Holyfield versus Buster Douglas. He said, I'm going to double jab him. He soon picked him apart. You can either jab with a jabber, or you can take the jab away from a jabber with a parry, the slip, the feint. The heavyweight division, when I came around, they have all been tall. Vladimir had a lot of wide and stocky opponents. I learned how to jab with people, double it up, and deal with their range. I'm not the best I'll be yet, but I have learned and can definitely throw a double jab. When you take away one of his main weapons, what will be next? It will be interesting." So those are the words of Anthony Joshua speaking about what I aforementioned before the quote. Interesting, he's talking about trying to take Vladimir Klitschko's jab away with his own jab. Sometimes when you jab with a jabber, you can have a lot of success. Ray Mercer was able to jab with a jabber against Lennox Lewis and did it very successfully, although in Mercer's case, he was in a very small ring, and that certainly helped in his fight against Lennox Lewis, who was a much taller guy, much more rangy guy. But he did jab with Lewis and he gave Lewis problems. Frank Bruno also jabbed with Lennox Lewis and he gave Lewis a lot of problems. Larry Holmes, when he fought Ray Mercer, jabbed with Mercer and caused Mercer a lot of problems. This was a lot earlier in Mercer's career when he wasn't really using his jab that much. Larry Holmes really taught him how effective a jab can be. And after that, Mercer went away and thought, you know what, I need to develop my own jab because of what Larry did to him in their fight. So yes, jabbing with a jabber can actually be a successful thing if you know what you're doing. You have to keep your defense tight. Anthony Joshua is trying to be a student of the game. He's talking about what Holyfield did to Buster Douglas. Buster Douglas in that Holyfield fight wasn't in shape. I'm not saying that even if he was in shape, he would have beat Holyfield. I don't think he would have done. A lot of Tyson fans seem to believe that if Douglas was in the shape he was when he fought Tyson, he would have beaten Holyfield. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think styles make fights. And Holyfield was a much more mobile target than Mike Tyson was. Holyfield was much taller than Tyson, so he was tall enough whereby he could box with Douglas on the outside and use his superior foot speed and hand speed that he had over Douglas to negate Douglas's extra reach and a couple of inches in extra height. So, you know, I can understand what Joshua was saying there in terms of double jabbing and Holyfield's success against Douglas, but Douglas was no Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko is a consummate professional, a fantastic athlete, and Douglas had a great jab. I'm telling you that Vladimir Klitschko's jab's even better than Douglas's jab. So it will be interesting. Joshua says it's going to be interesting. I'm fascinated to find out how Anthony Joshua is actually going to approach this Klitschko fight when the first bell rings. What he's going to do from a technical and tactical point of view. Most people believe he will not try and do what Tyson Fury did because they don't think Joshua has the smoothness, the slickness to be able to replicate that kind of game plan. He's not as tall as Tyson Fury. He don't have Fury's reach. So, you know, most people are not expecting that from him. Most people are expecting him to actually meet Klitschko's center ring and fight Klitschko's kind of fight, boxing him. So it will be very, very fascinating. Joshua's going to need his reflexes to be razor sharp, not just in terms of offense, but more actually in terms of defense, because Klitschko can lead with power shots. He can blind you with his jab and follow up with that very straight right hand that he has, which can take your head off. And as I say, he can lead with that left hook. Just ask Kubrat Pulev all about that. Joshua's going to have to be so careful. And to be honest with you, if he tries to jab with a jabber and concentrates on a jab in this fight, doubling it up and all that kind of thing and hitting Klitschko with it as much as possible, that might actually be the best way to go for him. Because as I say, he don't have the fluidity to box like Tyson Fury. So if he's going to go in there, if you notice in a lot of Joshua's fights, he does keep his hands high and he blocks quite a lot of shots. So if he goes in there with a high guard and his whole game plan is to jab with Klitschko, jab, force him back. Once they get up close, break free and let shots off. That might actually be the best strategy that Anthony Joshua could employ. On the inside, people are worried about Klitschko holding. I think Anthony Joshua is a machine physically. And I think he'll be able to break free from any clinches that Vladimir Klitschko puts him in. As long as he isn't too tired or hasn't been hurt, as long as he's fresh, then I think he'll be able to break free from Klitschko's clinches and actually get shots off. I think Klitschko's very physically strong, but I suspect that Joshua is just as physically strong, if not more so, because with the youth, he's got extra energy levels, and those energy levels can help you in clinches, being able to shrug your opponent off and get hands free and what have you. So yeah, fascinating. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about what Joshua has said here with regards to tactics. What do you think his best tactics would be? Do you, like me, actually believe that maybe jabbing with a jabber would be his best bet in terms of giving him the best chance of victory? I'm not saying it's going to guarantee victory if he tries to jab with Klitschko, but I think it may increase his chances, because how else is he going to approach the fight? People think, oh, he should just come out and fly at Klitschko and, try and bomb him out. Maybe that's what you believe. But I think Klitschko will probably catch him if he does that. I think it's dangerous. I think he's better off actually trying to jab with the jabber, doubling up the jab, keeping a high guard, minimizing mistakes, using his legs a little bit. So, maybe that's his best bet. And also let me know what you think about him saying that he needs to unify the division before he can be considered the best, because there are people already who consider Anthony Joshua the best in the world. I've spoken to several people who I guess, in my personal life, who I guess you would call casual boxing fans, and they're telling me, oh, Anthony Joshua's the best, nobody can beat him, so on and so forth. Whereas Joshua's like, hold on a second, let me unify the division before you call me the best. And I think that's very wise of him to say such a thing. Let me know what you feel about everything I've quoted and talked about in this video. All right, it's happening. I'm out.